Okay, gang, welcome back. Today, I want to talk about a couple things. I've got Joe Lotto was nice enough to loan me his Lilly. This is a one-off guitar of his. I've had it on the channel before. Every time that we've talked, it's been kind of like a little bit of a rush to get the video done. Obviously, time's always kind of a constraint. So I had some time to just kind of chill with this instrument and sort of get to know it a little bit better. And I got to tell you that it's everything you would ever want in a custom guitar. I mean, aesthetically, it's gorgeous. The inlay work is top notch. The laminate work is amazing. And it sort of is like the perfect metaphor for what I want to talk about today. And that is something that occurred to me. I was just out in California, and this dude in line at one of the Dark Star shows I was at was telling me about this dude in line at one of the Dark Star shows was telling me about the book Fare Thee Well by Joel Selvin. I hadn't read it. I mean, this period of after Garcia's death and like kind of getting into the weeds of like the beginning of Phil and Friends and Rat Dog and a lot of this stuff. This was not really like my favorite time of deadheadedness. It was a lot different than what it is right now. You know, if you're younger and you're kind of used to like this, super hip version, the super like social media friendly, like FOMO version of Deadhead life where, it just looks amazing on Dead and Company tour, and like it's all incredible. Like it was not that way in like 98, 99, 2000. Like small Rat Dog was a theater. They would play theaters. I saw them at the Orpheum in Boston, and I saw them at the Electric Factory here in Philadelphia. And I don't know, a couple other places, but in the summertime you would see them play you would see them play sort of the Shed circuit, right? And same with Phil and Friends, and there was all these different versions of like the Dead, the other ones. That's really what that book is concerned with, but they talk a good bit about like the way that the surviving guys felt about the whole like Jerry clone thing. And I feel like that has sort of shifted over time, where it was like not cool to, try to emulate Garcia, I guess. And if you look at it from the band members' perspective, which that book does a really good job of kind of putting you in, I guess, like their shoes and sort of contextualizing it. That's a big deal. Like I'm always talking about context when I make these videos. And I think Joel Selvin does a good job of that. Like the band, the book opens with the board meeting where they dissolved the name of the Grateful Dead. It was in December '95, and everybody's there except for Kreutzmann, who's still too sad to come out. He's at his place in Hawaii. But it was super sad. They didn't really see it coming, maybe the way we out in the audience did. When I was seeing the Grateful Dead in 1995, like I kind of had like an exit plan if Jerry collapsed on stage. It sounds weird to talk about, but like he really seemed sick, and like the end was, well, not like the end was near, but I'll put it this way: when he died relatively suddenly in his 50s, it wasn't really a shock, if that makes any sense. But if you know anything about addiction, or if you've lived around addicts, that they make a great point in this book that like the people in the band and around the Grateful Dead maybe didn't quite sense that it was as serious and as imminent as the end was for Jerry. And so you can imagine if you have, let's say you're Bob Weir and you've been playing with Garcia since you were 16, and then all of a sudden, poof, he's gone. Hearing somebody, sound like your old friend, I would imagine would stir some pretty strong emotional reactions. Initially, Rat Dog didn't have a lead guitar player, and that speaks volumes. So where am I going with all this, right? it's kind of about like interpretation. Um, Garcia was great at interpreting things. The Dylan arrangements are sort of what I always point towards. Like, I think he played Dylan in a lot of ways better than Dylan played Dylan. Certainly, maybe live. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure if you're a Dylan head and you love Bob Dylan and there's nobody greater in the world to listen to, just take that with a grain of salt. But like, I think that the Grateful Dead arrangements of the Dylan songs kind of stand up on their own 2 feet. The Desolation Row and When I Paint My Masterpiece, they would pick these kind of interesting songs and really make it their own. And it sounded like the Dead doing those songs. And maybe that's the whole point of kind of, the pejorative nature of like, oh, don't be a clone, don't emulate somebody. I happen to love the note and the sound of the Garcia delivery, and it's been for me a vehicle of how to learn the instrument, learning the songs, learning the parts, learning how to play it just right, learning the feel. Those have been like incredible blessings for me. But, I can also see that you can make a case that you don't want to spend your career kind of sounding like somebody else. Not that, I don't have a career doing this, but there's people that do, and that's a completely legitimate thing. And, that's kind of what this guitar feels like to me. And it took me a couple weeks to really get it, but like this is an interpretation of something that we love. It signals, Deadhead Jerry guitar with the horn, but it's it's not a carved top. It's kind of has sort of like the more of the Fender aesthetic, the 3 knobs, blade switch. Sure, you can, split the coils here, and it's got the ebony board that I'm always going on and on about. That's, super crucial. But it's a real like workhorse of a guitar, and it's I think no accident that Tom Hamilton's really bonded with these guitars, because when you think about interpreting the Grateful Dead songbook, J-Rad is sort of the manifestation of that. And so like the two kind of like go hand in hand. Initially, I was going to make like a video about like, me playing the guitar and talking about it, like how, it's a wonderful instrument. It feels great in the hands, the neck width, it's all to Irwin spec, right? But moreover, it's differences that I kind of notice. It's sort of this great marriage of the Stratocaster and the Tiger, and it's nice and lightweight. I mean, after hauling around my Travis Bean, which is definitely north of 10 pounds, this is nice and light. It's got, I think, what Joe would maybe think of as like probably his signature thing, which is this like amazing blended heel joint. It is like, it's like curvaceous, like it just feels great to hold it in your hands and play. It's a wonderful thing. And it's beautiful too. It's a beautiful instrument. Like I said earlier, the laminate work is top notch. I guess I've known Joe for going on 4 years now. He came over to my old house, I think during COVID, like right when like lockdown stuff like that was like late that summer, and let me jam out for a while on some of his early guitars. And it's kind of wonderful to like see the progression and see like the details get really hammered in, beautifully, and it's a flawless instrument, So, if that's what you're after, that's like the interpretation thing, I think that's like the beautiful side of it, of like taking something that's like a huge influence, right, and making it your own. I think Joe's kind of on the track, it's like it's kind of happening in front of my eyes. When I have these little like 10, 15-minute visits with these guitars, it's not something that I really pick up on, but having it here for a couple weeks and being able to play it every day, that's the takeaway that I have, is like, not only is it super well made, high quality custom guitar, but like it's kind of a head scratcher because it's it's sort of Grateful Dead, but it's also sort of its own thing. It's moving in its own direction. And yeah, I think kind of meditating on what it all means, what that Fare Thee Well book means, what the the clone thing means, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing means. I think that it's like a question of nuance. It's exactly where the internet and like the comments section of social media kind of falls down, because you don't get that, like, it's all the things, right? Like it's all it's a mixture of all the different combinations. So yeah, definitely reach out. Joe is on Instagram. I think the best way to get a hold of him, honestly, is to climb into his DMs. And if you want a guitar built, he's taking orders. And if it's your thing, it's definitely your thing. This one is, I wish I could keep it here. This is a one-off that's kind of his shop house guitar. For people that are hanging on this long and that want to know all about it, it's got 24 frets, ebony board. Like I said, it's sort of like a Strat, but it also has like the aesthetics and kind of the usefulness of the Jerry Garcia stuff going on too, where you can split the coils, and it's got this great Schaller bridge and the Schaller tuning machines. I should have found out what kind of fret wire this is. They're nice big frets, but yeah, that's really what I wanted to talk about, is like the idea of like the interpretation and like going forward. What do you do with all this knowledge? What do you do with the Grateful Dead songbook and the performances? And like for me, it's been all of the things together, like learning the chord voicings and learning the kind of the magic sauce of the Mixolydian mode, like how that really is this perfect gap between like minor and major pentatonic, and it's really not all that different from either, like it's kind of interesting. So being a good listener and being a good bandmate and developing the ear and learning how to like play with other people, like I learned all of that from playing in Dead cover bands. Yeah, guys, if you made it this deep into the process, be sure to subscribe. And, let me know what you think, too, about those years, those weird, like, lost years in time of after Jerry died. Did you go out and see Further that first summer in '96? Man, what a mess that was. Or, I don't know. Probably my favorite Rat Dog story was I saw them at the Electric Factory in Philadelphia in 2003. I'm not sure the exact date, but it was if you're a baseball fan, it was the night of the ALCS Game 7, the night that Pedro talked Grady Little into letting him keep the ball and then blowing the game. And the Yankees won and went on to the World Series that year. So like a classic October baseball moment that I missed because I was seeing Rat Dog at the Electric Factory. Yeah, I do remember that night that he played one, Masterpiece, speaking of the Dylan arrangements, and the end when I paint, the Jerry part, the high harmony, the crowd sang back to the stage, and it was a beautiful moment. It was really a special thing. It kind of, it was like, wow, that's, wow, some little bit of hippie magic. So, yeah, check out that book. Let me know if you read it. I don't know. I think it's like good and bad. Like there's mistakes. It's pretty like harsh on the Doug Irwin topic, I thought. And who knows if it's right. It's just one data point out there. But, as ever, guys, I want to say thanks for watching. And, we'll see y'all again real soon.